What's going on, everybody? Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? Make yourself known when you're entering into the room, and then we'll start the show. Tonight we have a very amazing guest out of Brooklyn. If you've been paying attention to the promos, tonight we have one Rad Latina out of Brooklyn, artist, visual artist, and NFT minter. I'm gonna say minter, but okay. Creator.
Yeah.
Strong creative personality. She has amazing artwork, and I wanted to bring her on tonight so she could sort of break down the minutia of what it means to be a creative one. And let's have a real spirited discussion regarding NFTs. Because if you're like me and you're at the halftime of life, as I like to say, you don't have a damn idea about what an NFT is. And I think that's something that we need to understand. So I hope everybody is going to join us tonight and enjoys the conversation. So, you know, as you're getting into the room, just let me know you're here. Shout out to Brooklyn, man. I mean, you know, the notorious B.I.G. just had his birthday, and I know all of New York City really misses him. I mean, his music and his artistry was felt across the globe. And one of my favorite artists, he had amazing music, and it's a shame that we didn't get more from him. We got 2 albums. One of them happened to be a double disc, but still, I feel like there was a lot left on the table, right? So, you know, shout out to Biggie, rest in peace. And we'll just have to keep you alive through your music. But Brooklyn was really on fire yesterday. New York City was on fire, celebrating everywhere. And you can tell his impact on New York from the response. I mean, MTA was printing Biggie Metro cards. And as you can hear, we're in Sunset Park, so the reggaeton is crazy outside. So salute Tom Ford. All right, so without further ado, we're going to run the intro and get this show started, all right? Let's go.
That's some old ass.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mr. A. I'm glad everybody could be here tonight with us. Tonight, as I stated in the intro, we have artist, creative, and I don't even know how to phrase NFT
creator.
NFT creator, one Rad Latina out of Brooklyn. Really happy to have this conversation. And before we start, let me just turn this speaker off. Sorry.
Please stand by.
Yeah, right. So without further ado, the set welcomes one Rad Latina.
Hi, everybody. I begged my mom to let me go to that funeral for Biggie.
Oh, really?
Tú estás loca. A Brooklyn. Tú no vas a coger para allá. I was like, pero it's Biggie, mom. You don't understand. A mí no me importa, coño.
Wow. To think that you were still asking mommy to go places during that time.
I mean, it was Biggie. Like, it was like the death of it was
an icon.
Yeah, he's still an icon.
Yeah,
so
still.
I was 13, 14.
Oh my God.
My mother was like, "Are you no?" And we're from Dykeman, so it's kind of far.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
My cousin, I think she's to go, but I'm not sure. Let me not say that. She might
you blow her up. Mother's gonna start giving her cocotazos right now. So there's so much that's on the table right now for us to discuss. So let's start with the easy part, right? You know, culturally, being Latino, being people of color, art is something, you know, being a creative is something that I feel we have naturally, right? But at the same time, when it comes to being in this American culture, I think culturally for us, it doesn't permit for us to be creative in the sense where we're going to devote our lives and try to make careers and livings off of being a creative, right? So how were you when you made this decision, and what was the response like from your family?
So that's so funny that you bring that up, because I was just recently thinking about how in our parents' countries, in Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, for me, because I'm half and half, um, las artes is something that you want your children to be a part of. There are so many art schools that are public, and even not to bring up Cuba, but even Cuba has like this ridiculous art these ridiculous art programs. And once you get here, the mainland or to the United States, it's no longer a viable option for work or for any type of livelihood. I mean, even as a hobby, it's not that heavily I don't want to say enforced, it's not the right word, but it's not like promoted for a hobby either because it's like a waste of time. So growing up, I remember this is this is one of those memories like you never forget, and it's because it's so like eye opening. And I grew up in Dykeman, and there's a YMCA there, and the YMCA is on Nagel, and that YMCA has always had like summer programs, but they've always been private programs. And I was a kid, and it was summertime, and I saw a sign or something that said that they were giving like lessons for painting, but the cost was like $200, and this was in the 90s, and we were poor, you know. So my mom was like, you know something, tú no sabes pintar, eso la gente tiene que nacer con eso, eso es un talento que la gente tiene que nacer. So no olvídate de eso. It's like she basically told me that you have to be born knowing how to paint, which I am. I am a natural actually. And she didn't do it because she didn't think I knew how to paint. My mother herself is quite talented. I remember finding these pieces that she used to make out of like crochet and things like that, but she used to keep it hidden. She just was trying to deter me from following a path where I wasn't going to have any type of livelihood. So her thing was just ponte a estudiar, like study, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to be or to have a real job.
Yeah, regular 9 to 5.
Regular 9 to 5. I drew as much as I could in the margins of my notebook and my name on things and stuff like that. And but what I really did growing up was just take as many pictures as I can, because that was something that was more allowed. You know, when I was growing up, you had very little opportunity to retake a picture. Rolls of film were expensive, cameras were expensive. If it wasn't really a good camera, you run the risk of having double exposure when you don't want it. And if you don't know how to take a good picture, you'll mess it up, and it'll be a waste of time to even revelar la foto, like get it developed.
Right.
So my mom did know how good I was at everything. She always made sure I was the one that took the pictures, and that was always like, Ve Luchi, because that's my nickname growing up. Ven Luchi, coge la foto. So it was always something that she encouraged. Sure, I'll buy you film, and I used to get like these really cheap cameras from like Woolworth that were like $10, and they were like these rectangular cameras that had this really weird film that looked like the voicemail sign on old cell phones. God, I'm old.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
yeah,
like
you're
really
talking about film cameras, and now you're talking about that on. Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's like, that's one of the things that got me into being everything digital, because growing up and then as an adult, I never got to monetize on my photography or my art or anything like that. And then in 2019, I started working for a startup, and the startup, I started working in a different role. And since it's a startup and those companies are small, sometimes they switch you around when you have more than one skill.
Yeah.
And at the time, I've always had creative skills with graphic arts and things like that. And I'm very active socially on social media apps. I'm also like a writer, not just a writer on the walls, but like I write, like I have very good writing skills. So they decided to make me their director of social media. I was also doing content creation for them. I did the copy, like it was everything. Like I said, it was a small company. Startups are usually like that. So that really propelled me at the time to say, you know what, I can do this for a living. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You have to excuse me, but I see white people do it all the time with their artists, and they do it. And art school and things like that are not something that's just like encouraged or even shown as a as an option, even in high school. Like, yeah, kids that went to art and design in LaGuardia, but how many kids, really went to art and design and were really looking at that in the book?
Right,
like
right.
really thinking they were going to get in there, especially when I went to high school in New York City. It was a straight lottery. I was applying for high schools that were for journalism, because at the time I was really into writing. So I wanted to do something in journalism. I applied for a lot of the art schools. I was a straight A student with like ridiculously good attendance, and I wasn't accepted into any of my schools.
Wow.
But my friends that were like cutting class and stuff like that were accepted to all of them, because back then it was a lottery, and it had a lot to do with where you lived, your zip code. A lot of things don't change.
Yeah.
So art school wasn't even like on my radar. So as an adult, though, I see plenty of people who are not in art school, that didn't go to art school, but happen to not be people of color, making it out there. And I said, I could do that. I can do it because I know I am good at this, and I can totally do it. And at the time I was living in Astoria, and I had been just promoting my art and myself on Instagram. A nightclub reached out to me that was about to open in Astoria, and they wanted to do some work on their mannequins. And at the time, since I was just like really just getting on my flow for that, I guess.
Right.
I never asked for payment, because at the time exposure was enough. Besides, I had a really good steady job. So you could pay me with exposure, because right now I'm just really learning how to make my way around this. So that's the feedback I got from the artwork I made from that, and the fact that I got people asking me for commissions from that, and just like the reception I got from it, and then also being hired by people for photography, made me just like say, you know what, I can definitely do this. So I headed down to BF Spaces, which is this big place in Bushwick that has a bunch of studios. And they have them really affordably priced, which is really hard to find in arts. First of all, it's impossible to find a good art studio that you can be by yourself, that you can afford. It's like an apartment.
Right.
So I was able to find the studio in Bushwick, so I get to stay in my city, because I'm from the city. I'm from Dykeman, so I get this art studio, and I paid a couple of months rent, and bam, the pandemic hits. And I'm furloughed from my job.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the company went back to because they were like bi-coastal.
Okay.
Not bi-coastal. They were international. Bi-coastal is when it's on two different coasts.
Right.
But they were on two different countries. So they just, because to cut costs, obviously, and there's like a pandemic raging in this country, they went back to their country, and like the American staff, whatever. So that would be seen as like the end of the world. But at my age, that wasn't the end of the world for me. That was the beginning of everything, because now, because there's a lockdown and all the yuppies left and all the people that don't believe in New York are gone, and everything is locked down, I have time. I have time to hone my craft. I have time to build my
portfolio.
My portfolio, not so well. My portfolio as well, but I was thinking more of I have. Now I can build, and I don't even want to say my following. I just want to say the people that can see my work.
Right.
I had time to build that network of people that want to see it and can understand it. And I just started going crazy with it. And because I've always done digital work, either through, as soon as a camera phone was invented,
that was it.
That was it. I remember the first camera phone I got was a Nextel flip phone. They were illegal at the time.
They were illegal?
The Nextel that at the time, yes, you couldn't have a Nextel because you couldn't have them. They were only for the West Coast. You had to know someone at a cell phone store, and I knew mad people.
Hell?
Yeah, so I knew mad people. I got myself one of those. You used to press the button on the side and
chirp.
Flip open. Yeah, it was a chirp, but it was the first. And I was taking pictures. I was like, oh my God, I could take pictures, and I don't have to have, because I already had a digital camera, but this is like on the go, and I have my phone, and anything can happen in the moment, and I can take a picture. Because taking a picture is you're literally freezing a moment in time. That's why I'm such an advocate for photography. It's such an important it's a history keeping tool that we all must use. Even if you think you're not a photographer, start taking pictures. Just like I tell people about drawing and painting and everything like that. But that's how I got into doing this. And how old was I in 2020? If I'm 40 now, I was 38 back then. So
Okay.
30 and 37 going on 38. So I remember even Googling artists that have made it over the age of 35. Like, because, a lot of this is also an age based, like all entertainment, because this is also an entertainment type of business. It's very age based. And that also goes along with a lot of the whiteness of it all.
Mm.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about artists who have this life experience and this lived experience where they can speak on things, on issues, and they can make the art about it, and it holds a lot more weight than someone who hasn't really lived or experienced the type of things that others have. I call it, I use this example a lot when I'm trying to explain things that people have not been through but try to understand. It's like you can explain to an extraterrestrial who's never felt human pain, and they can learn everything about it and they'll explain it back to you, but they've never felt that sensation.
But let me jump in here, because that, ladies and gentlemen, I think if you don't know how this whole journey of art and being a creative started for one, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to run it back and sit with it. But I heard a lot there, and I kind of like want to pull and draw from it. Um, the whole cultural side of, again, our families really shunning art and being creative as a living. I mean, I think that can be felt across the board. But at the same time, it seems like as you were going through your walk, it seems like almost there was always opportunity for you to be creative, whether was at work, writing, being a director in any capacity for a startup is a great position to be in. Whether or not they were paying you director money is something totally different.
Oh, you already know.
But
I was a contractor.
right, forget
Ya
it.
tú sabes.
Yeah. So, um, so the pandemic hits, and you're starting to envelop yourself, for lack of a better term, in your work,
Yeah.
right? So, is it at this point that you decide to really jump headfirst into NFTs and learning how those things come to be, or is this prior to the pandemic?
No, this was during the pandemic.
Okay.
So I always knew about crypto.
Hmm.
My family's very into everything. I have cousins that are always into stuff.
Hmm.
So I know about Bitcoin and I knew about things like that. Someone reached out to me. I had already seen some artists speaking about NFTs. And then someone reached out to me, oh, you should make NFTs, because a lot of the work that I was, not the physical work, but a lot of other work that I was putting up was digital. And this
Hmm.
was since before NFTs were around. Artists that were making digital art, all they could do was just post it on Instagram and hope to God that some company would fall in love with their work and maybe contract them to do something.
Right.
Or they'd get this ridiculous following where they would have to start making some monetary gain. But that's not what was happening for everyone. So when this NFT, when the NFT, because NFTs have been around for a long time, but the NFTs as we know it started getting popular, people did reach out to me. And I was interested at first.
Hmm.
And then I saw how difficult back then, I'm talking about like at the beginning, this is the tail end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021.
Hmm.
So at that point, the whole crypto and everything was going through so many laws and changes and all types of things that someone like me who didn't have a ton of money in the bank kept getting rejected whenever I did try to mint or open anything on OpenSea or Rarible, because at the time all those platforms were pretty much all curated and gatekeeping hard, especially when it comes to finances, because what people do have to understand about NFTs, that an NFT is this non-fungible token thing. It's an asset that's being traded around. So it's really like trading around stocks or bonds or things like that, or contracts, because NFTs can be many things. They're for the real world.
Right.
They're just digital.
Right.
So yeah. So
Wait a minute, Red. One.
yeah.
Do me a favor. Could you break acronym?
Okay.
Can you say that again so that the audience could catch it? Because I know I was about to ask you and you said it, but I'd like you to repeat it.
So a non-fungible token is an NFT.
Fungible.
Fungible. So non-fungible is something that's unique, that can't be traded for something else. A fungible something is something that can be traded for something else. So for example, paper money, cash, like a $5 bill is fungible, because if I have a $5 bill and you have a $5 bill, we could exchange it with each other and we both still have $5 bills.
Right.
With NFTs, there's only one, because when it's minted or made on whatever blockchain you're going to use, it's going to be given a serial number, and no other asset on that chain will exist that's the same as that one. Even
Right.
if you mint another NFT of the same image, or you mint another NFT of the same thing, they're still going to be two separate, individual, unique NFTs.
Okay. So if I have drugs and you have drugs, we could exchange drugs.
Depends on the drugs. So drugs can definitely be non-fungible, because if I got some weed and you got some
Backyard boogie,
yeah, I don't want that shit.
the value has to be there.
Obviously.
So let me ask you this, that we're talking about value, because NFTs for me, when I started to hear about them, it seemed very weird, but I understood the whole what the possibilities were, right? Because art in and of itself is subjective, right?
Mhm.
And it's a good way to sort of hide, some finances, resources.
I'm just checking for any FBI.
It's a good way to pull off some shady shit.
I mean, you could pull off shady shit in anything. That's see, also when I first, that's what put me off to it at first, because at
Right.
first I was all gun ho. And then when I couldn't get through, I was like, there's gotta be something going on where I can't get through this. And then I'm a person that's constantly fighting for social justice and change. So right away my head goes to, there has to be something going on here, which there was at the time. It was the financial thing.
Right.
But that also led me to a space where I was like, oh, this has to be for money laundering, and it has to be for this. And I even made some posts. I made some artwork that said, fuck your NFTs. Oh my God.
We're rebelling.
What? Yes, hard body. And then I was like, you know what? Let me shut up for a second and start actually listening and learning. And then I found out what an NFT actually is. So it's a digital asset, right? So, but it's a digital asset with real world applications.
Okay.
So an NFT, for example, they all have to have some value that's not just the NFT, unless it's like an art. And even that, the value is the artist.
Right.
So for example, an NFT that everyone might know would be like the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And the Bored Ape Yacht Club, you guys know, it's like, oh, a bored ape, he looks tired and he comes with different things. So those NFTs are basically memberships into communities. Those are PFP projects. They are totally different from, let's say, an NFT I would make. I make NFTs that are just one of one. There's no generative one making a whole bunch of different ones. And my utility is just that you get to buy a piece of art from the artist because I'm just a creator. If ever comes a time where I do a project, I am kind of doing a project, but I just call it that because I'm an artist and everything's a project.
That's right.
Is where the NFTs that I'm creating of like women's faces are going to like charity and stuff like that.
Okay.
But there's no real, that's the utility. That's what they call like the membership benefits that you get when you buy this NFT. I myself have some NFTs that are PFP projects, and I have NFTs that are just one of ones that have no utility.
All right, hold up a second. Let's try to make this a little more for the novice for one quick second, because even in what you were saying at the start of the NFT sort of revolution, I'm sure people were thinking like, why couldn't she do it, or why couldn't she mint these NFTs? Because there's no regulation of it, and that's what made it, what it is.
But there was regulation.
There was
the regulation. Oh my God! So the regulations were, like I said, your bank account, because when I first started doing the NFTs and the wallets, they had a lot of requirements. You had to give your social security number, of course, a bank account, because you have to go on Coinbase. You have to buy crypto. The thing is that New York State is very strict and very strict. I'm going to use that word with their crypto allowances, or what they allow you to do with crypto. There are chains that I have not been able to mint on because New York State just does not allow the crypto to be traded here. It can be traded in California. You can go to Florida. You go to Nebraska. but not in New York State. So for
My God.
New York State artists like me, small artists, it
Mhm.
was really hard at first to get into crypto, and it wasn't always free to mint. Like right now, you go on OpenSea, you might have to pay a small gas fee, or you can go on like Disrupt Art, where I have a ton of artwork, and they're on a blockchain called Flow, and you can mint for free because there's no gas fee. There's a couple of blockchains like that, but that didn't exist when I started doing it,
Mhm.
and that actually put me off for a while until I got on a platform, and the platform was curated and I was allowed to go on there. And unfortunately, because you have to join Discord and things like that, and I was so ignorant, not just ignorant, but I was not learning. I was just going in. I was hacked. I basically let a bot and a hacker into my wallet, where they stole all my money, and I had to let go of that wallet. And when you're in Web3, which is the whole ecosystem that NFTs and crypto live on, that's a big deal because you use your wallet to sign into everything. All your data is kept there. So when I lost access, which is what you do once you get hacked, you can't put anything in there. You've lost access. I can still access it just so that I can prove to people how long I've been in the space. But I had to basically first I had to stop working with them for a while just so I can just clear my wallets, and in case any hackers were following me. I didn't know how it worked back then, and I had to redo all my profiles on every platform that I ever minted on because I no longer could use that wallet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So vamos a hacerlo otra vez, because even in that moment of you explaining this, how you lost your wallet and you had to relinquish it because you
Yeah.
couldn't, you know,
Or just not sign into it anymore.
right. Let's say right now we're gonna have a child, right?
Okay.
And we're gonna tell this child who just drew, they were given an assignment to draw their first turkey for Thanksgiving, right?
Don't draw a turkey. The Pilgrims killed the Native Americans too. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving. We celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Taínos all day. Get Columbus out of here.
Let it go. That's it.
Okay, so he drew a cacique for Indigenous Peoples Day.
Right. And all right, we made it a he. And he comes home and he says, Mommy, I want to make this an NFT.
Okay.
What do we have to do to make that happen for little Calcildo here, for him to have his Calcildo? We gotta mangle something. What do we gotta do?
Bueno, Calcildo, the first thing we're gonna do is, since you want it to be a digital asset, since you drew it on paper, we're gonna have to make it digital. And if you're an artist out there, canvases are hard, obviously, to scan.
Right.
But if you're using paper, or if you have pictures, I suggest buy a good copy machine that does scanning, or there are apps that you can download on your phone that can help you capture a really good scan of your artwork. And this is especially for artists that are making canvases.
Right.
And my graffiti people take pictures of
yes,
your walls and stuff. And if you mint them, no matter how many times they buff these walls, that'll live forever, because anything you mint on these so a blockchain is the technology that all the cryptocurrencies runs on.
Right.
There's a bunch of different ones.
Right.
But once you put something on that blockchain, it's there forever. And because the blockchain is also a ledger, I'm old. A long time ago, accountants used to use these things called ledgers.
The green book, and they had graphs like Excel in them.
Yes. Oh, and bookies.
And bookies, yeah. So the legal types.
So when a bookie needed to know who owed him what and where, he would go into the ledger.
That's right.
So this is a ledger, and on any blockchain, you can see any in and out of any wallet as long as you have the address. For example,
oh wow,
I saw the wallet that stole everything from me. I saw what happened. And I didn't know I could do this until the people from the platform were letting me know this is what happened. So I went on Etherscan because it was for Ethereum. I saw every time that they stole something from me. I saw the wallet that it went to, and the wallet and then after that it was transferred out somewhere else.
No recourse for that?
I don't know no one knows who anyone is. Right now I own my Ethereum name, my ENS. So my name
Pera. I'm going to interrupt you again. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. Because we went we started here. We're in Ethereum now. Let's back it up because
All right.
Casildo's on the floor and he's gonna throw a fit. So we have his Indigenous Peoples Day drawing. We have it in a digital form.
Okay.
What's the next step for us to further us along the journey of it becoming an NFT?
So this is where people have to do their own research and find out where they want to fit themselves in Web3. Web3. Remember Web3 because the internet as we know it, the internet is super old, but the internet as we know it is Web2. And the internet that will be Web3 and so on and so forth. So you're gonna hear me say Web3. So Web3, you hear me say blockchains, has plenty of blockchains. So the first thing you have to think about when you want to mint a digital asset like that is what blockchain do you want to use? Do you want to use Ethereum, which is the one that everyone knows? And as you know, Ethereum has gas fees. Gas fees is something that you have to pay in order to mint or do anything. It's what makes the blockchain run. It's why a lot of environmentalists and people like that do not like to use Ethereum. It is the most popular crypto that is accepted everywhere. And it's one of the reasons why so many people use it, like me. Because in New York City, Ethereum is not a problem. There are other blockchains, like I mentioned. So Flow, like for example, Flow right now is on fire. This is not financial advice. But Flow is an example where it's a free to mint blockchain where you can do things. But Flow, for example, I need some water. I'm talking so much shit.
You have water there, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Flow, for example, just very recently got on Coinbase. So if you did not know how to work your way around Web3 and wallets and things like that, it would have been hard for you to buy Flow. And Flow's pretty famous because they're known for NBA Top Shot. And there's a lot of people that use NBA Top Shot and deal around with NBA Top Shot.
Oh yeah, that's a feverish sort of environment, NBA Top Shot.
So that's what Flow, that's the blockchain, and that is the ecosystem that built NBA Top Shot was Flow. And I just love that blockchain. There are also other blockchains. There's Solana. Solana is one that has very, very low gas rates. So once you figure out where you want to mint what blockchain, because every blockchain also has like their own community. For example, the Flow blockchain has its own community. Ethereum is all over the place. It's where they do the Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's where they have a lot of different ones. Solana as well. So once you figure out where you want to mint, you find the platform where you can do that. Some people make their own contracts in order to make their NFTs.
Pera. Casido's confused.
¿Qué pasó?
So we picked our blockchain. We have our digital formatted Indigenous people's art.
Okay.
We picked our blockchain. We're gonna go with Flow.
Okay. Are we selling this?
Well, Casito wants to start his college fund, so in hopes that somebody sees it, they will want to buy it, and he can make some residual income behind it.
Yes.
So
that's the beauty of.
What's the next step? What'll be the next step for us to take that digital form and get it on the blockchain?
Awesome. So let's say he chooses Flow.
Okay.
And so he has to find if it's art, he would have to find a platform where he can sell it as art. And in every business, there's always something that has a niche. So just like Flow has sites where you can get NBA Top Shot, which are just projects, they also have sites where you can get art. So one of the platforms is Disrupt or Rarible, which is pretty famous. They just integrated the Flow blockchain. So we would go onto a platform, let's say Disrupt Art, because that's the one I stand. So we go on Disrupt Art. It's a curated platform. A lot of art platforms are curated, which means you send them your information. They figure out if you're a real person that's actually making art. I'm not talking about the gatekeeping type of like curation. I'm talking about just making sure that you are an artist and someone who's here for the space and someone not a scammer, because in everything in the planet there are scammers.
So like a blue check for the blockchain.
Kind of like a blue check for the blockchain, but I don't really want to go that far. It's just
somewhat in that vein.
Yeah, because the curators are real people and they're making sure you're a real person. So they make sure, what's his name again, the kid?
Casildo.
Casildo. They make sure Casildo's a real person. Like, Casildo's really making art. And It's just like going, depending on the platform, it's just
Mhm.
uploading, filling out, figuring out how much you want to sell it for,
Mhm.
and then just pressing mint, and that's it.
Okay, so we've minted Casildo's indigenous art.
Okay,
Okay,
good for you, baby.
how is Casildo, right? How is Casildo gonna make money after the first sale? Is that something he has to take care of in his contract before he puts it up for sale? How does that work?
Well, that's the whole point of picking a platform
Okay.
or deciding to do your own smart contract, which is what they're called.
Okay.
If you're deciding to do your own smart contract, you're probably a dev. You need to know some type of coding and you need to know your way around that. I don't know anything about that. So if I wanted my own smart contract,
Hold on a second. I got to jump in again. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're paying attention, she's talking about writing a digital contract, and the specialty about this digital contract is you can't write it in Word perfect. Okay, it has to be written in code because it's living on the blockchain.
correct.
And from what I understand, the reason you're writing it in code because it's going to live in the blockchain is because that's going to be attached to that piece of art or whatever it is forever and ever and ever.
Correct. And anything that you do afterwards with that piece, that NFT, will be part of that contract. So
Right.
let's say the platform, a lot of platforms have it written into their contract where you will get money from secondary sales. Disrupt Art has it, OpenSea has it. Some contracts on different platforms you can play with their percentages. Some have it fixed.
Mhm.
But there are artists, or not so much creators, but there are like projects and businesses that will get a dev to make their own smart contract because they want a certain percentage.
Mhm.
If it's a PFP project with a ton of utilities, it has to be very specific
Mhm.
for when whoever buys the PFP or the NFT will do something with it later on. So
Okay.
it's just like any contract. You are any just think of it as any business transaction.
Negotiable.
Yeah. Well, any business transactions needs proof, and that's what this is.
Oh, it's a tag. It's like a tracker tag.
Well, it's the blockchain is a ledger,
Yeah.
and this is your receipt.
There you go. Also, I also want to sort of point out is, all right, Casildo just sold his indigenous art for $5,000.
Damn, you better than me. 'Cause
Pero ahora there seems to be some rich oil magnate in Peru, and he fell in love with Casildo's art, and now he wants to buy it for $150,000.
okay.
Casildo was smart enough to listen to his mother and make his residual percentage 15%. How does Casildo cash out when that sale happens?
That goes right back into your wallet.
So he doesn't even have to argue with anybody.
No, it's on the contract.
Run me my money instantly.
Yes. It's on the blockchain. You'll see it.
Listen, I have artists. My daughter's an artist. She's constantly making art. She loves to be creative. Yeah, and she's a bookworm. She eats books.
That's beautiful.
She's the type that reads 3 and 4 books at the same time.
Good. Yes, that's great. I understand completely how she feels. I do.
So she does art, and I was hoping that at some point that she would start taking her art and minting them because she does some great pieces, and I've always tried to like push her into capitalizing off of that. So Brianna, if you're watching, I hope you're taking notes, and I'll definitely help you because you're coming back home. You know,
does she do any type of like? Oh my god, does she do any type of like extracurricular stuff? Like, does she volunteer? Does she do anything like that other than the art?
Well, in her work, she works with children. She does story reading, and she sets up displays.
Mm-hmm.
So she's very like her visual of how to put things together. And
well, what I'm saying is like if she wants to find a way to cap, because like I'm a one of one artist, right?
Right.
So that's all I make is art, and I try to keep it that way because I'm such a purist about that. But a way for her to still do one of ones and still make it a project, and she has so many, is just like add a utility. For example, if she's working with kids, like the project that I'm doing where it goes to charity.
Does everybody hear how enthused she sounds about?
It's just that I'm so the thing
it's
about
tough.
No, the thing is, so let me explain something about like the Bored Ape club and projects like that. Those are run by teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anytime you see like my PFP projects that I have, which are I have the giraffe tower ones, which are just amazing, and those are in Ethereum. I'm pretty soon gonna have a badass bears from Flow, which is part of the Jim Jones project.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's my Flovatar. So, oh my god, what was I saying?
¿Dónde está Dory? ¿Dónde está?
Yo no sé.
Hold on a second before you proceed.
Oh, she could add something to it,
right?
Because that's what people don't understand. Like those projects that you see 1,000, 10,000 of them, they have a whole team behind them working on them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not just one person. So she's just one person, and she wants to like make a project that it has something that the people can get other than her art. She could, if she works with kids, she can add something in there like that. It's just like ideas that I try to give artists if they really want to get in this, because it's a very new space,
right?
But it's still very tough.
Yeah,
because a lot of people are just copying off each other, and the whole point is let's try to be original.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because this podcasting thing is, everybody's doing it, and I often find that a lot of people do copy each other. You know, and for me, I don't mind. You know, if people aren't going to be original all the time, they're going to have to take inspiration from other places. I mean, that's you know,
that's different. But in the Web3 space, it's like it's just copy and paste a lot of the time.
Really? Well, those monkeys.
Okay bear, not okay bears. That's what I have to say.
Like those monkeys, when I was seeing them and listening to the pricing, and I was just like, who's
membership card? That's what I want people to understand. The difference between PFP projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club, or like the ones I have, Flovatar, Badass Bears, the Giraffe Tower ones. Those are PFP projects. Those are like, I own a membership card that has this really cool piece of like PFP art on it, or it has this really cool logo that's just for me that no one else has. And I get all these perks because I joined this community. So that's what those are. It's totally different from, let's say I make a beautiful piece of digital art and I just make that one and that's it. Like that, it's a big difference. So that's why you see those prices. It's just like when you see some very famous artists sell for millions of bucks because they're getting that artist work. When they're selling these PFP projects for all this money, it's because people are getting perks. They're getting entrances to shows. They're getting a community to network with. They're gaining knowledge from each other. You're setting a community up. And the thing is that people don't understand where this is going. The applications for the blockchain are not just for NFTs, for art, or PFPs. They're going to use it for ticketing, for concerts. They're going to use it for prescriptions. They're going to use it for everything. This is just the evolution of what you guys know as the internet or web.
Right. The digital realm. And I'm glad that you said that, because I really don't think people really understand what the World Wide Web is really evolving to.
Yes.
And you talking about the blockchain in the way that you do should give novice people a better and clearer understanding of the intentions.
Yes.
Because if you can do art, if you can do prescriptions, contracts, there's a bigger picture at play here.
Right. And people are not seeing that. I know a lot of people, the first thing they say is scam. So let's talk about the art world that I come from, right? The traditional physical art world with auction houses and galleries and all that stuff. People buy these expensive pieces of art to launder money, to flip it. It's the same thing. So if you're worried about not joining something because it's a scam, they scam on Cash App and PayPal all day.
Yep.
Why you trying to get, because I've had people mad at me. Like I've been mad before also at the NFT thing. So I get it, guys. But after I figured out what was wrong with me not understanding, like I learned. But people, they just very, very angry. Like, because and I get it, because you're scared, right? And when you're scared, you fear change, and you
the unknown.
Yeah, you fear what you don't understand, and that makes people angry. That's where a lot of anger comes from. But it's just like anything new. So 20, 30 years ago, nobody really understood the applications of the internet except for David Bowie. He knew what was going on. Like,
yes.
he's one of those people that really knew.
He was ahead of the curve.
He was ahead of the curve.
And you just saying David Bowie, probably all the people that's in the room are like, who? David who?
David Bowie is a very, very famous rock star who passed away.
Eyes without a face.
Yes, he had 2 different colored eyes, and it's not for the reason people think. I would suggest people Google why he had 2 different colored eyes. It's an interesting story. But just like back then, he knew what was coming. So it's kind of about patterns. So this is just like the pattern of the internet back then. People didn't understand it. Everybody was scared. People were scared of cell phones when they first came out. They didn't want to stop using regular phones because of cancer and this and that. Look, everybody got a smartphone now.
Yep.
And your smartphone is going to be able to connect to Web3, because I'm going to keep saying Web3 because that's just the evolution. And it's not going to stop at Web3. It'll be Web 3.0. It'll be Web 4. Who knows where it'll be. And I know you guys have heard the word metaverse a million times.
Oh, my God.
And you acting like you don't know what a metaverse is, but you've been playing Call of Duty for 10 years.
Oh, my goodness.
It's the same thing. It's a virtual world.
Let me jump in because I have a very, I think, a great suggestion. And maybe people in the room will agree. And I know your energy. I don't know if everybody is picking up on one's energy. And yes, she does like to be called one. Her energy is, she's like on sugar. Like
ADHD, baby.
Listen, I'm being PC.
Neuro Diverse. Well, that is PC. I am
it is
ADHD. Yeah, I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Like, my brain is totally different from everyone else's, and I run on a totally different time schedule, even on my body, and I'm always like this. Maybe this is why I smoke so much weed, so I can calm down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I was that kid in class that talked too much, but was very intelligent. If I had been a boy, I probably would have been diagnosed as a kid, not as an adult, because boys present ADHD totally different from girls. As a girl, a lot of girls that have ADHD, or a lot of people, a lot of kids that are gender girls, have ADHD in a way where they're very quiet, they daydream a lot, they bounce their legs a lot, they do a lot of different tics that people would just say, you know, there's nothing wrong with her, she's really smart. And they have the craziest party going in their head 24 hours a day.
I thought that was all women.
No, that's not all women. There's no such thing as all women.
Yeah, you're right.
No.
My suggestion, because of her energy level, and ladies and gentlemen, understand, when I spoke to one on the phone to just get acquainted so that she can feel comfortable and I can feel comfortable, and she could understand what how my mind is and how it works and what I wanted to do with the conversation, she was all in. And when I say all in, I was getting so much information. It was like, oh, wow, I feel like I'm going to ride a Coney Island.
That's called info dumping. That's something that people with ADHD do. That's an actual... It's a comorbidity of ADHD. It's called info dumping.
So you're getting both sides of. My suggestion would be, because of her knowledge and understanding and creativity, that one should hold a class.
Oh my God!
And she should charge people. Yo, listen, you want to get into NFTs? I'm teaching my class. We could do it online. We can do it in person. Whatever. I'm going to charge everybody $50 a pop. And we're going to have an NFT minting class. And I'm going to take you from el huevito hasta el gallina. And you're going to learn how to mint NFTs.
I wouldn't mind doing that. I've wanted to help people get into this for such a long time, because I myself was so resistant to it at first. So I can speak to not wanting to do it, to being scared. I can speak to so many things that have happened to me personally as a woman in Web3, as a person of color in Web3, as somebody who didn't know what was going on, that when someone steals everything you've been working for, it would make you give up. But I believe in Web3 so much that I just went and I opened another wallet and I kept minting. And then the thing about Web3 is recently there was a market crash. And I love to study patterns. That's one of my favorite things to do. And since I was a kid, I've studied the stock market patterns. And just like every market, the crypto market will go up and down, and it could crash and go back up. The people that stay in the space while these things happen are the people that really believe in it. The people that will lose everything in a wallet and just open up a new one to continue to stay in this is because they really believe in it. And I think I wouldn't mind teaching a class because I really want our people, because that's the thing. So the Web3 space is very big, it's very global, But a lot of the people who are running these large DAOs, which is it's like a group of people that get together, they put their money together. It's like a we have
like a hedge fund for digital.
Right. So they make decisions together. So these are all people that they tend to be white. You know, so I want to be able to bring my community, the brown community, the Black community, the Spanish speaking community into a space that probably a lot of them are already in and haven't dabbled in other spots of it because it's such a big space. And or the people that have absolutely no knowledge and don't know what they're missing out, because there's a phrase that's used in Web3. It's WAGMI. It's we're all gonna make it, right?
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, that's what it means. But a lot of people hate it to be like, oh, that's some toxic positivity. No, we're not all gonna make it. You know why we're not all gonna make it? Because you're talking like that.
Exactly.
And let me tell you something. When they say WAGMI, they don't mean us. So when I say WAGMI, I mean us. So it can be WAGMI, but we have to first learn, and that's going to be the biggest barrier is learn. And if your grandmother can use WhatsApp.
Wait, say that again. She could use what?
She could use WhatsApp. All right. If your grandmother and your aunt can use WhatsApp to send you 1 million text messages in the morning, talk about bendito y esta vaina de Jesucristo, they can definitely learn how to use a wallet.
Ladies and gentlemen,
give them their first NFT.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining the show, I'm your host, Mr. A. Tonight we have one Rad Latina from Brooklyn, and
from Dykeman, but I live in Brooklyn.
Oh, she's even correcting me. From Dykeman, up top.
Not the Bronx.
I just can really appreciate how she said WhatsApp, because you can tell she's a Latina by saying WhatsApp, right?
Is that not the name of the it's WhatsApp, right?
It's WhatsApp.
It's WhatsApp.
But I again, because I've heard it all before, and it makes me feel good inside because that's my people speaking.
El WhatsApp.
Yeah, but I go to DR and WhatsApp.
Tírame por el WhatsApp.
And there you go. And
una presidenta, okay, I don't drink anymore, but I don't drink alcohol, but you know.
And two, from our initial conversation to the person that I have sitting in front of me now, and I want everybody to understand this. Her mission and her energy is focused on bringing the information to our people because it is her mission. And a lot of people, you know, they see us get riled up about certain issues and what's going on in the world, and like, you're wasting your time. And I'm like, you don't understand what's coming. And the more you continue to believe and buy into this thing, go ahead, have your fun. Because when the ball drops and it starts falling around you, and then you're gonna go, mira, yo, what do I do? Pendejo, I told you to pay attention, but you didn't. Right?
And there's also something to be said about that in a way where, forget about NFTs for a second, because if you're going to talk about NFTs, you have to talk about cryptocurrency, which is what you need to buy it.
Yes.
You have to think of NFTs, but cryptocurrency as a global currency that you can use in any part of the planet. So let's say you got family in DR. You usually send your family money through Rienvia or something, right? So you pay, or Western Union. So you pay Rienvia, you pay whatever, and then if it's cash that they can't go pick it up or whatever, the man on a little motorcycle or whatever comes to the house to give them money. Hay que darle propina a ese tigre también. So ya se fue como la mitad de lo que te iba a mandar.
Claro.
But let's say que el tío campesino tuyo que vive en una loma, mad far in Santiago,
en
una finca, he has internet though, right? He has Wi-Fi
for some reason.
Nah, yo, I've been to places. I mean, like, yo, how you got Wi-Fi out here? I got a router.
Dame el password de Wi-Fi.
Dame el password de Wi-Fi porque tengo que usar mi wallet.
Así mismo.
What happens is, like, as long as you have Wi-Fi, like an Android port or whatever, you can open a wallet. So instead of using Rienvia or whatever to send your family money, you would just transfer them some crypto into their wallet, and they can go into Coinbase or whatever and transfer that into fiat, which is the real money, and throw that into their bank account.
Wow. And pretty soon there won't be any more of that paper.
I think paper will always exist because we always need something in the physical. What's going to change is which paper is going to be on top. And that changes all the time because of wars. It changes because of oil. It changes because of presidents. There was a time where the Argentinian sol, no, that's in Peru. I forgot what they use in Argentina. I can't remember if it's the peso, but it was on par with the American dollar. And now it's not that. There was a time where the American dollar was stronger than the pound or the euro.
That's not no more.
The American dollar will never be stronger than the euro ever again in its life. So that's things that constantly change. So,
well, here's the thing about that. Are you comfortable? First off, are you calor?
It's a little hot.
You want me to turn the air on?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you might hear some back noise because I'm going to put the air on. Just give me a second.
It's this beautiful halo light that's in my face. I usually be working in a dark room like this, hunched over like a troll. I'm going to make some money today. Gotta make some art.
So if you hear any back noise, that's the air.
Oh my God.
Better?
Yes, yo.
All right. I got to keep my guests comfortable, but if there's any back noise, if you're hearing any humming.
I'll try to speak more into the mic. I also keep getting away from it.
All right. I want to say this to you with regards, because I'm glad you brought that up about currency. Now, if everybody is older than 35, I want you to think about what money is to you, one, and how it's been changing over your life. Because we went from constantly walking around with money, cash in our hands from the check cashing place, right, to moving towards banks. Like being in a bank wasn't really a big thing to me up until I was probably about 19, 20.
They wanted it like that.
No, but that's my point. That's what I'm trying to drive at. And then as time goes on, direct deposit happens, right? I'm saying in my life, as time goes on, direct deposit happens. And then from direct deposit, I'm writing checks. And then no more I'm writing checks. I got this debit card. And now the debit card, I have no money in my pocket ever. I go everywhere and bloop and put my code in and jata, right? So the progression has been over my lifetime from always walking around with a tangible item in my wallet or in my front pocket to now we moved to a card. And we're totally digital now. You do not necessarily have to hold a representation of currency that is paper like we grew up on at all.
Some people look down on it. Some people look down on you having cash.
Peasant.
Like, oh, you don't have a card?
Where's your Apple Pay?
You're touching that? Where's your Apple? Bitch, I have an Android.
Yo, listen, mira.
Google.
Mira, estoy aquí contigo.
Oh, ya tú sabes.
That's
it. I got my little...
And you know what's crazy? I'm an Apple guy. I left PC in 2012.
Oh my God. No, I've always been Android.
I'll say this. The last iPhone I had was iPhone 4.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Y después de eso, I never went back. But as far as computers are concerned, I'm an Apple guy. I
still like PC.
Yeah?
Yeah. I still like I love Windows. This new one.
I got tired of catching digital aids all the time.
Oh, I never, thankfully,
yeah, right next to you. La pareja ahí mismo.
I've never, thankfully, have had that problem, but I always have good antivirus software. I'm very careful. I'm paranoid about links and all types of stuff. So thankfully, I've been able to avoid anything like that, except for the hack in the wallet, and that was literally my own fault. I gave them my password to take all my money.
Mira, but I don't understand something. How does someone like yourself?
Oh, because I had never used Discord before. I never used Discord. And when I got onto the Discord, I didn't understand that the people that are on the Discord, even if they're in the same channel and the same group as you, they don't know who the people are. This is different. So I got a message saying I had a type of crypto that I was being given by the platform every time I minted something. And I got a message saying that I could transfer my crypto from one to the other so that I can get it in cash. And it kept asking me for something called a security key. And that's the one thing that you will never, ever in your life. The password to your wallet and the security key are two different things. I didn't understand that.
Oh.
So you can have a password to someone's wallet, and then you can probably see the security key or something. But once someone has that security key, you've lost access to that wallet. That they have access to it as well. They can. That's it. You're done.
It's over.
It's over. Never, ever, 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 ever give anyone your security key. Write that on a piece of paper, put it in a vault somewhere, take a screenshot of it, print it out, and also recommend to get a hard wallet, which I'm going to be also doing. There's one called Ledger. It's off the computer. It just downloads everything onto what you would consider a USB stick, but it's actually a wallet.
Like a thumb drive.
Like a thumb drive, and only buy it at a reputable place like Best Buy, that you go to the store and they give you the box, because people have been known to buy these online and they already come hacked.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got to love the digital world.
I do. I love it.
All right, let's change gears, because we've spoken about NFTs, and I think we've covered a lot, and I think people have a really good idea. But I'm going to stick to my story about you doing a class, and I'm going to tell you this. This is a community center. Pretty soon, in the next few months, I'm going to be teaching teens and young adults how to podcast from here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
I actually wouldn't mind doing that, especially if it's like young people.
Hello.
They're the ones that, oh my God, our young people have so much talent and have so much everything. Like, and we've been denied for so long. That's why I'm so into this space too, because I'm so early in this that I could actually get a foothold and get my people in, because even with my physical art, like I really make that art. So there's like another little girl like me, like I used to be, that she could see me. I've had little girls come up to me, like brown little girls, black girls come up to me while I'm painting, and they're like, and their mothers asking me like, oh, this is what you do for a living? And I'm like, yeah. And I look at the little girl like, yo, you could do this too. Because I never, ever saw that growing up. Someone that looked like me, or looked like my cousins, or looked like anybody that I know, di que pintando for a living. Nunca in my life. And di que outside in New York. Yo, one of the first big pieces that I did was for the New York Public Library on Fifth Avenue. And I remember all those little kids looking at me, little brown kids, little black kids, like, oh my God, they can do that. I can do that too. So just like I'm doing that, that's the reason, that, and to leave legacy for my family, legacy for people of color. That's exactly why I'm doing it in Web3, so that we can have all the things that they've been denying us since they first landed on our shores or took us from our homes. That's what I want. The Web3 is like our way to reconquistar. Like they conquistaron us, vamos a conquistar them through Web3. Ay, coño, el micrófono. I got too passionate about it.
No. I think that's something that's needed. I think we need to have healthy discussions about this environment that we're living in, because our young people, the other day was Malcolm X's birthday.
Yes, oh my God.
And we were having I was having a conversation with a gentleman from Houston, Texas, and having a conversation with another gentleman from I think upstate New York. And we were talking about how we came to discover Malcolm X. Like, at what point in our lives did we, find him?
I don't think I've ever known a time where I didn't know who he was.
Right.
I think I've known him as long as I've known who Martin Luther King was my whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
So the funny thing is,
especially after Denzel made that movie when I was little.
Oh, I keep forgetting where.
Denzel, I'm old, yo. I saw Denzel playing Malcolm X, and I was like, I really got to learn more about this guy. I got to go to the library and like get a book or something.
The AD.
Facts. All day.
So in my time, I learned about Malcolm X probably between the ages of like 12 and 14 because of the 5% Nation that were in.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
oh, my God. That was in front of Woolworth all the time. Exactly.
I think those are the Israelites.
Oh, the Israelites. My bad.
Yeah. Those are the guys that dress in those,
my bad.
Those funky turbans and
the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Shout out to them, though.
Yeah, shout out to them. The 5% Nation is a whole different sect, but these older brothers that I grew up under, while I was very young to them, because these are guys that are like 17, 18, 19, and I'm a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
They were the ones that when I started asking questions and they saw my interest, they were like, hey, read this, read that, read this.
Knowledge is power.
And I'd come walking around the block with a packet of yodels, and they would go, why are you eating that? I'm like, because it tastes good.
Have pork in it.
Yeah. Do you know what's in there? Flip that around, and then they started making me read labels. And
that's actually how I found out.
Really?
Yes, that it had pork in it. Holy shit, I forgot about you. Just on memory unlocked. Holy shit.
So the point that I'm trying to make is that people, our young people, have lost touch with identity. and they don't learn they don't learn the things that I learned about at the age that I learned about it.
But where did you learn that? Did you learn that in school?
What?
What you just told me?
No, as I'm explaining, I learned it on the street. But we don't have those people no more, and the young don't want to learn.
They want to learn. They're just. I can't say you. I refuse to believe that because they said that about my generation as well. These estos muchachos no quieren aprender. These kids refuse. Every generation says that
Really?
because you're old. Every generation says that. You have to find a way to speak to the youth in the way that they understand, so that they could be proud of themselves. If they don't know who their ancestors were, how are they gonna be proud to learn anything? Like, these kids don't know where they came from, and that's one of the first things that people have to teach them to get them interested. I remember I recently saw, because it was recently, I recently saw the history of Latin America. I think it's for dummies by John Leguizamo.
I saw that too.
That's the one that I saw, and he talked about trying to get his kid to be proud, and he kept giving him examples and this and that. That's a pretty old one already, but if you see it now too in this context, it's the same thing. If you're not teaching these kids where they came from, they're not going to be proud to want to learn about nothing. They don't know that they came from emperors, and they don't know that they came from warriors and engineers and people that navigated with the stars, that if they would have had iron instead of wood, this America would have never have been founded, type of stuff, because these people were geniuses. So they don't know that they don't know where they came from, and that's I think that has to be the first step in wanting them to really learn who they are, because that's how it happened for me. I was just constantly searching about, because my mom never really talked about where we came from, and everybody thinks Taínos disappeared and all this other stuff, so they never talk about that. So the only culture that you know, if you're American born here, is American culture. You really grow up thinking that you don't got no culture to call your own, when it's really this country that just borrows from everyone else.
Borrows?
Steals.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're being very generous with that word.
My bad. They steal. They steal from everyone else, and they don't know that they stole. You don't know that they stole from you. Those clothes that they rock in, that jewelry that they wear, that style that they got, that sound that you hear, that art that you see, that's all from you, except for the European art, because everyone swears to God that that's the only type of art, and that's why they call our art folk arts, but that's not what that shit is.
Word games.
Arts. It's word games. It's like a microaggression for forever. Oh, this is actual real fine art. No, bitch, this is. You see the graffiti that's on that wall that you have to run from the cops, and that shit still came out mad clean, that you can read all the letters. That's fine art, all right? And there's nothing European about it, maybe because the letters are Latin. But let me find out how to read that in Chinese or something, and they could really throw it up like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think you're starting to understand, if you haven't by now, why I was so excited to have this woman on the show. I mean, she's so full of energy, and she's a wealth of knowledge. Right, and salute to my cuz, my homie.
Oh, for real?
All these years, my bro. Nah, he's right here. He's right here.
Yo, those tables, I can't wait to see them.
Oh man, salute to my guy, Mr. King. I'm gonna call you Mr. Quinones. Salute to you, man, because he gave the alley-oop on this one.
Yo, he got some of my merch. He is a supporter. I have no idea who he is. Let me tell you. No idea. I just know him from social media because he likes art.
Lady, she's falling off. She's not digitally stalking anybody the right way.
Not for nothing, but I could care less what anybody does in their lives. I be blocking people all day. Block. Don't follow me. Don't buy my art. I don't care.
Yeah.
But he has like bought my mug, because I make art, so I also make merch.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh, he bought my stickers. I did a collab with Chris from RWK. That's actually the first thing he ever bought. Was he saw my collab with Chris from Robots Will Kill. And he bought the stickers, and then it was mad cool. And that's just how it happens. My
Mr. Quinones, from a very early age, his father imparted art, music, and creative, being a creative to him. And growing up, Uncle Steve, rest in peace, was such an intelligent, articulate, cultured man.
He read a lot.
He did a lot. He saw a lot. He traveled. He did all these wonderful things in his life, but
traveling is important.
Growing up, Uncle Steve, as I would call him, he was that uncle that just, when you were around him, you knew you were going to learn something. You know, being 8 years old and being talked to about jazz by Uncle Steve was an experience, right? So this gentleman, his father, my Uncle Steve, imparted all these things into him. And ever since in our older years now, he's really taken to it. And he's become expressive on his own. He's creating his tables. And even other people that I'm in contact with that have done clothing lines or whatever, if it's good, he's patronizing. Yeah. So when you tell me that, I'm not surprised because he's a lover of art.
I'm surprised because you don't really see that. That's
action behind it.
You see, and I always say to a lot of people, okay, so you can't afford my work. I understand. Share my shit, man. Show somebody my stuff. Drop my name in a room where my feet have never entered. Go ahead.
There you go.
You never know. You know what I'm saying? That's how you support. And he supported first with likes and shares and stuff, and then he bought some of my stuff, and now look where I'm at. I'm talking to you. Yeah. I'm helping. Now what he did was he paid it forward in such a way. I haven't done anything for him, but he's paying it forward anyway, where I'm now able to use whatever I've learned and all the crap that I've been through to help you guys, so you guys can hopefully start something, because there's another thing that they've always denied us, and that's a legacy of wealth for our family after we're gone. And now we can have that. So you know those trust fund kids that you used to watch in movies, and you probably met a bunch of them at downtown clubs in Manhattan, and they live in the nice apartments, and their trust fund pays for everything. That could be your kid in like 20 years. If you play your stuff right and you learn how to do stuff in Web3, that could be your kid. He just, they're probably Dominican or Black, so they're not going to be mass spoiled and stuff. They're going to know how to act, but they're going to be trust fund kids. They're going to still be trust fund kids. They're going to be like, oh, I can afford to not, starve to death. I can afford to pay my rent, and I don't have to know what it's like to suffer, because there's also this thing for the artist out there. For some reason, you are the only profession that's not allowed to make money on what you do. How dare you want to make money off art? Who do you think you are?
You're a sellout.
You a sellout? I'm a sellout? Me? Because I want to eat a sandwich? Because I want to pay for paint? Do you know how expensive it is to make art? It's super expensive. And every time that someone decides to look down on it, look at your clothes. Those clothes that you're wearing, an artist made that. You see the computer you have? An engineer with artistic skill drew that out on a graph paper and made that. Every single thing, including this microphone that I'm using right now and the camera that's staring at me, was drawn out and made by an artist. An artist has touched everything in your life. So we're allowed to make all the money we want. And we're allowed to make money after they sell it, just like every person on the planet is. What you do with your money after that, like me, that I want to fight the power, start a revolution, burn it all down. I'm going to do that with my money. You want to buy a Lambo? Buy a Lambo. Give me a ride because I don't know how to drive. I'm from Manhattan. I'm from Dyckman. I don't know how to drive. My school didn't have a driver's test.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined the show, you are shit out of luck. But you can watch the rerun on YouTube or the Facebook page is set 6145.
I'm banned on Facebook, so hit me up on Instagram, which is weird because it's the same company.
Let me pull up one's Instagram. I know I showed it early in the show, but let me just pull it up one more time before we go.
Oh, and Twitter. Let me say this real quick. If you want to get into Web3, right now, get on Twitter because that's where everything is. Instagram will be integrating Flow. What's up, Flow? We'll be integrating Flow as well as Ethereum and I believe Solana in the next coming months, where you'll be able to mint, buy, and sell NFTs straight from Instagram, I believe, or trade.
Wow.
Yes, that's why I'm like, Flow, baby, Flow. That's one of the best blockchains right now to build on. If you're a dev and you want to start a project, it's a good one to build on. I know a lot of people didn't really believe in it, but ever since I started working with the blockchain as in minting and using it, I've had nothing but a good experience with it. And again, there's no gas fees. It's a green blockchain for all you environmentalists that are sending me death threats and hate notes. You heard? Because I love Mother Earth. You don't understand me, first of all. So that's why I still do lazy minting on OpenSea, because lazy minting, by the way, OpenSea It's lazy minting because the gas fee is going to be paid by the person that buys your NFT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's not really minted in the way where it's an actual NFT on the blockchain yet until someone buys that. But that's on OpenSea.
Okay.
It's different on different platforms. On Rarible, you can do either or, but you'll have to pay the gas fee, and that goes up and down depending on the time of day. And as you get more knowledgeable, you'll learn to play around with editing the gas fee in the wallet to see if it'll go through. That doesn't always work. Sometimes it does. You can get the hang of it. A lot of this is still learn as you go. That's the thing that people have to understand, because they are literally building it as we're in
as
there.
we speak. With
There are things that haven't been made yet, and maybe that's because you haven't come up with it yet. That's what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to stick by my word. I don't know. I think I'm going to be talking to one a lot more in the near future on trying to curate this NFT class, because there's a space here, and I think she would fit right in. And I would just have to manage it, because I want the energy is crazy. You got to keep her.
Man. I need an agenda. Like,
No, yeah, I got you.
I remember people used to be like, "Yo, let's get together and let's go do a wall or something." I'd be like, "Yo, you gotta pick the time and the day. You gotta call me like 20 minutes before." I remember he was just calling me, "Yo, you downstairs?" Yo, I'm the word. Yo.
But first of all, I want to thank you for giving us your time. But don't get up and round just yet.
No.
I just want to close out the show. Thank you for everybody joining us tonight. We'll be back this coming Wednesday with Hakeem Green, comedian, actor from New York City. He's on Flatbush Misdemeanors, and I hope everybody could join us, man. It's going to be a good one. I appreciate everybody that came out tonight, and salute to One Rad Latina for giving us her time, man. She's amazing. Go check her out on Twitter and on Instagram.
Oh, OneRadLatina.com.
There you go, OneRadLatina.com, and you will be seeing her again here on the set in the future. I'm sure of it. All right. Good night, everybody.